Hi there, welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we learn alcohol ink, watercolor, and other creative art projects together. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get started. Hello friends, here's something that you haven't seen me do in a while. I've been playing with my alcohol inks today. It's been so humid here that it's been very difficult to work with alcohol inks. But today I had to give it a try and I was very happy with the way things turned out. So I'm going to paint a flower, and the colors I'm using are, for the center of the flower, Pitch Black by Ranger and Rainforest Green by Pinata. I put a couple of drops in the center. Then I used Dandelion for the yellow, then Wild Plum, and this last color is Flamingo. And right now it looks very psychedelic, very groovy, very tie-dyed looking, which is really pretty. And of course that sparked more ideas for future paintings. But I had an idea of what I wanted to create, and I was inspired by a picture of a flower that I had in my garden when I lived in Florida. It was a hibiscus, and the center of the flower was this beautiful bright yellow, and the petals were this gorgeous deep pink. So that's what I was trying to achieve in this flower. And what I'm doing with the alcohol is I'm running a line of it from the center of the flower to the edge of the paper, and then with the airbrush, which is set at 40 psi, I am just simply going back and forth from the center of the flower to the edge of the paper to create these petals that look as though there are folds in them. And these are my favorite petals to create. Now, once I was finished blowing out my petals and I was happy, I took a micron pen and I outlined the petals that I saw in this painting that I wanted to keep, because I'm going to black out the other petals. I call these my dramatic flowers because the black background really makes the petals pop individually. So here I'm using a Posca pen with a 0.7 nib. And I have a set that has a bunch of different size nibs, which makes this technique really easy. So you can see that I'm going around the petals that I have decided to keep, and I'm creating a black background over the rest of them. And immediately the petals really start to pop. And now I'm just thickening up the lines in between the petals a little bit. So I'm going to go around and create a black background for the petals that I decided to remove. And what's nice about this is that once you're finished and you take a look at it, if you want to make any other changes, it's very easy to do so. So here there's a petal that I feel doesn't look right. I wanted this to be almost like the petals of a hibiscus. So I decided to remove this one petal at the bottom. And you can see I'm switching to a broader nib Posca pen and just removing that petal, and I love the way that looked. And then of course I have to create a border. And using these broad tip Posca pens makes it really easy because I just use the side of the paper as a guide and I run it along the side, and I usually get pretty straight lines. Now that's usually, not always. So now here you can see I have my trusty little shot glass. It's a plastic shot glass. I'm not even sure where it came from, but I love to use this to put my snow cap into when I'm creating a center. So I'm drying it a little bit because I find that drying the snow cap before you start dotting for the center makes it a little bit more opaque. So I have my micro brush and I'm starting to dot in that center. and I'm going to be doing multiple layers. So you'll see that I'll be drawing in between each layer. And I want the light to be coming from the top left-hand corner. So the top of that center will be brighter and more white. And as I go down, it will be less dots and further apart. I want the center almost to look like a cone, like the flower is at an angle. And as always, be sure to check the description box for links to the products used. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll always get back to you. And please consider joining our Facebook group, Vivo Vintage Design Tutorials, where you can post your versions of the paintings and techniques learned on this channel. I'm very active on the channel, so if you ever have any questions or you need some advice, our fabulous group of members and I are always happy to help. Okay, so now you see that I have finished my center. I'm grabbing my Artex acrylic paint pens, and I want to create a stem, but using alcohol ink over the black marker is not going to work. So the acrylic pens work really well. And I wanted this stem to look like it's kind of droopy, or curved. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'm using a variety of different greens to create a little shadow on one side and to have it a little bit brighter on the other side. And once I was happy with the stem, I decided that I wanted to add some dots to the center also with the acrylic paint pens. So you can see I'm using the darker green towards the bottom of the center and adding some lighter green dots at the top of the center. And now I'm just adding a few more dots to make the top of the flower a little bit brighter rather. And once I was finished adding all my little dots and I was satisfied, I took a micron pen with a smaller nib and I started to create these little lines in the center of the flower, connecting some of those little dots almost as though they're coming from the center of the flower. I'm going to get a little bit closer so that you can see what I'm doing better. So you can see just these tiny little lines connecting those dots to the center of the flower, and I was really happy with the way that looked. It gives it so much more depth. And then I cleaned up the lines around the stem and added a little bit more shadow using a micron pen. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you give it a try. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.